Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. If someone can hear me, please reply in the chat, because I think I'm live, but I'm not sure right now. No. Seems it should be live, but I can understand if no one wants to, if no one's is currently interested in, because there's so nice weather outside. Let me test it myself if I can see something in the chat. Okay, chat seems to be working, but I don't see any responses. Why is telling YouTube me that two are waiting? So according to YouTube's, two persons are watching now, but I'm not sure if you are interested in this live event. May be nice to have any reply, because if this is just someone watching in the background, I'm not sure that I don't think there's too much interest in it, and maybe we'll just cancel this event and redo it on a later date, maybe outside the summer season. Okay, according to YouTube, there should be now 3 persons here in here. Is there anyone else besides me? Maybe it's YouTube counted me. Okay. The counter in YouTube goes up and down, but I have no idea if it's just counting me because I'm in the chat too, or if there's someone else with me here today. But why don't I see anything? Okay. Okay, maybe I will wait a few more minutes in here and just go through a few questions which have been asked, even though the persons who asked them may not be here. Okay, let's head over to the PowerPoint. There's one question. What's the difference between a save menu action and the save path? That's something fundamentally you need to know about WEBCON. If you hit the save button, then there's no path transition. And this means that the task remains assigned as they are, and that the timeouts are not recreated. If you have a save path instead, this means that the current, I don't have a path here at the moment, that the current tasks are completed, that new tasks are created, and that any timeouts in the next steps will be recreated. So this means that you have, it could mean, for example, if you have something like a reminder timeout, and you want to use a path transition to send out a reminder. In this case, and you would use this button, you would send out the reminder, the timeout gets executed, but because it enters the step again, it checks the inset condition and will again trigger the timeout. So you would have an endless loop. Another example would, or a more complex example would be that you want to send a reminder after 5 days when nothing happened. And if you have a step entry date and a delay of 5 days, for example, to send out the reminder, and you have a save path action, then it could happen that a user saves it. And because it's a save path, the existing timeout will get removed and a new timeout will be added 5 days in the future. And this way you could always have it could happen that the timeout after the 5 days won't ever occur because the user saves the workflow instance every time or before the 5 days are hit. That's the major difference between the save path and the save menu action. Hi Arno and hi Geo. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I will continue with my PowerPoint. So there's not much because there are just a few questions in here. So that's on between the save path and the save menu action, the save path. And yeah, while I'm talking about this, that's also the reason why I put something on my blog. Let me check where's my blog. About having always a save path action. I will just head over to the community because there's something new in the community. You may have noticed it, that there's now some knowledge base entries which have external in front of them. This means they are not from WEBCON itself, no official documentation, but are from different persons like myself, from Corsa, and from Markus Jenny. And I've put in here some reference in one blog post where I created form rules, especially for this case where you don't, so that you have a save path button, which actually triggers the menu action. So you don't need to have a real save path on the form, on the each step to say to trigger a save action, and without the maybe unintended side effects of having a path which triggers the recreation of the timeouts. And this is referenced here in my blog post. Yeah, it's from 2021. And what I also did is, if you have a new workflow instance and you have for example, a saved draft path, I simulated or introduced a menu action which is called the same way as the path and will just trigger the path transition of the saved draft path, so that the user has always a save action in the top, either the real one in an existing instance or a faked one if it's a new instance. Let's head back to the PowerPoint. And I should where am I the chat? There was a question, maybe probably due to my blog, when someone should use JavaScript timeouts to modify the form and when not. In the past, I've maybe it's changed in the meantime, but in the past I've used where is it? One moment. I used JavaScript to simulate to change the form layout from 50 to 50, like in here, to 75% on the left and 25% on the right. And here for this I used timeouts in the past. Maybe there hadn't been any HTML fields, and these timeouts worked in such a way that as I checked whether something is visible, like this one, the right panel outer element, and if it's not visible, or let's trace it back here, I defined here these elements for this JavaScript. I called it here change panel with timeout and how often the timeout should be executed. Here's the function on the execute function. Here's a trigger. I used to deploy this JavaScript as a form rule, which got executed on load. And here I, in the top area of this timeout or this action, I check whether there's an existing element on the form, and if it doesn't exist yet, because it's maybe created or it needs still to be created after the form rule JavaScript gets executed, the timeout is triggered again. The current timeout is implemented so that we maybe hits sometimes the max value and that the timeout doesn't, that the action doesn't get executed the whole time. If something is found, then I would do something on the form, like changing the columns so that the CSS gets applied to 75% versus for the left and 25% for the right. Maybe in the 21 version there wasn't an HTML field, but I wouldn't use this approach for doing anything with CSS anymore. The reason for this is that it's putting the CSS inside an HTML field is far more flexible. For example, I have here different layouts, and depending on the in each tab, and depending on the tab, I can have different sizes of the tabs. This works because WEBCON creates each element when it's visible. If it's not visible, it's not there in the browser. And so if I click on the collaboration comments, these elements get destroyed in the browser. So this CSS is no longer available, and only this CSS from the layout change is applied. This is the effect that I can, if I switch the tabs, different CSS gets executed or applied to the browser. Coming back to the question, which was about when to use JavaScript to modify the form. If you only need to do something with CSS, you don't need to do it anymore. Just use HTML fields, place them on the form, and the CSS will get applied if these fields are rendered. So this means also, if you want to apply a CSS only in a specific step, then just hide this field in the field matrix. Otherwise, display it. You can even define visibility rules to apply different CSS information. And yeah, I've got another question on my blog. This uses real use case for these timeouts. The question was, how should can I display the mail attachment and display the first attachment as the first mail, similar to the displaying the first attachment. Option which is available. And here we actually need the timeout Here's again, I have 2 timeouts this time, the show mails and show first attachment. And again, I'm looking whether some attachments which I can get by the mail identify by the mail attachment link. If they exist, I check whether they exist. If they don't exist, I'm executing this function again. And if they exist, I'm simulating a click, and then I'm triggering the next function to check whether to try to click on the first email, which gets loaded in the background. Since it gets loaded in the background after the click, the first execution will fail here, but that doesn't really matter. So I have here the same logic, check whether this element exists in this part. If it doesn't, if I don't find a first email, then try it again, try it again, try it again until the maximum is reached, because maybe there isn't any email at all. And then it got a little bit tricky because the first it was implemented, WEBCON implemented this way that I don't execute the click event on the first email, but I need to execute a mouse down event on the first email to actually bring forward trigger the displaying of the first email. So this would be the way to when to use timeouts if you actually want to interact with your form, and if it takes some time or WEBCON needs some time to the background to do something, then timeouts would be the way to go. Let's set over. Yeah, and so one other question was, how can I hide specific elements? This is also not related to the other ones, or to the CSS stuff. And I think it's best to show you an easy way to do it. So let's get my full screen. And for example, I've lost my demo. I wanted to show it. 6.1. For example, if I have here an attachment, where's my demo files? Test documents, here it is. Yeah, I should have opened the edit mode. For example, if you don't want to have the edit attributes, because you don't want to allow the users to change it or add a description or something like this, or maybe you don't want to allow the preview or the download. You may want to hide this information. How would you do it, or how would I do it? It's quite simple. I would open the developer tools. Oh, why are these so big? I'm not sure why these are so large. The fonts are so large. Now I'm confused, but now it's better. I would select the element what I want to hide. Here it is. And I would look through these elements. Here we see that this is a whole area with all the elements. This is information with the download. And preview and edit metadata. And I would just, the simplest way, even if you don't know anything about CSS, what you can do is copy this information. All the stuff which is making up the first part, so that we actually see what it is. And what I just did for a simple test is I asked ChatGPT to hide this one, or that I have this HTML fragment, and I want to hide it based on this data key, edit metadata. It provides me some CSS, and now I can use this CSS, put in a new HTML field, hide edit attributes, style, define that this is styling, the CSS styling. We don't need a field name. Let's make it visible. In all steps. Refresh it. And the edit metadata is, or edit attributes is gone. That's really the simplest way with the current web conversion to hide something which you don't want to see or want to show. Yeah, GPT can really help us, and it really helps also others who don't have any idea about CSS. It makes it really easy, as you have seen. And yeah, unfortunately, these have all been have already been all the questions which have been asked. So if you don't have anything, I'm wondering whether you are interested in the playwright stuff I've been working on, or have you any have you seen any of my posts regarding playwright, or do you know what playwright is actually? This is, maybe I can open it up. Playwright is a tool for automated UI testing, and which I'm currently using and working on. I've currently created 3 blog posts. So I'm just have here a simple workflow, which is submitting. I will just run the test. You will see it in the background running. What this does is, let me, oh yeah, so it goes. I have my hands not available. My hands don't have my hands on the keyboard. Oh, and error, good, nice. Should have tested it before. Why did it fail? 6. Yeah, that's right. That's right for 2 reasons, maybe. But I received. What Playwright does is we can define with Playwright, or you define tests with Playwright, like submitting a workflow, approving as another user, and verify that this one has approved. And during all of this, we can check that all tests, and we define different tests that, for example, that we can. I have here a test that I enter here 2, that the output should be 4, and the value received, the business rule should be 6. And currently, this one failed for some reason I don't understand at the moment. But Playwright is actually about creating tests so that it can be executed automatically, so that you don't need to go through all of this yourself every time. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any idea why it's currently failing. The test itself. Okay, for this one, Playwright has some recorder which you can use to record what you've did in WEBCON, and use this as test. So you could use a recorder to record all your actions that you entered. No, you don't use this further. That you clicked in here, entered some information here, and uploaded a file and clicked on submit. This can be done by the recorder for Playwright. And I wasn't so satisfied with the recorder because it uses the titles, it uses the names of the information labels. And since these can change easily in WEBCON, especially, or you may have translation for these fields. That's the reason why I didn't like the recording. And so I tried on the continuing process to do something in here to make it easy to use Playwright with the with information we have already in WEBCON. And for this, let me currently uh, show you one of these test specifications. I think the test can get really complex. Thanks for the question. And if you the Playwright you can use with the recorder itself, and you may need to change some information here. For this, you would need to have a little bit of knowledge of TypeScript. What I'm currently doing is to try to make it easy, to have a not so steep learning curve, and especially for using WEBCON as a backend for doing for providing all of the information we already have in WEBCON. If we already have the information, which fields are on the form in which step, and whether they are required, and so on and so on. And so I'm currently trying something, or I'm currently having here something in here, something which is called, for the start step, for example, something called form data, where I have the path defined, which should be used to transition from the start step to the next step, in which step the workflow should be currently in, which information there are should be in which field. Here's this is the decision. Okay, I will come back to this. This is a field which is hidden in the start step. And here we have the tab panel with the general tab, the title tab, the title with the description, with the text of the description. And here I call this form data because here I define the data, which should be entered into the fields, and define what I should be checked by the test. And having this data, I'm using this set data for the submit data, for the approval data, for the approved data. And here I just define the test for submitting with workflow as user one. I've did something in the background to authenticate as a user. So there's something authentication information in here, which is stored in an environment. I'm doing something in the background to get the labels. Here I have a few labels, but for example, I don't have the label for the path or for the step ID. So I am executing some code in the background to enrich the data, update the data with the labels so that I can see that so that I can get the label of the submit path and the label of the start step in which it is. Then I'm passing here the data so that this function checks whether everything is in there. For some reason this failed here, for example. It is expected to have a 6 for this value, but it received nothing. I'm not yet sure why it happened like this. Then it does here the path transition. And afterwards it would check whether it was successful. Click on the signature button, fetch from the URL the started workflow element ID, and use this one to then do the next step, open the workflow as user 2, do again the form stuff to update the data and get the labels, and then opens this one, this actions which I've added, ensures that the details tab is open so that it can expect that in the current step. So this one here checks that this is in the step as it expected, otherwise it would throw an error. It does again the checks and does the next execution. So what I've currently achieved is here, even though it's currently not working, that if I click on it again, or I open it in a new one, in another browser instance, you see this was the first step, and Playwright is clicking here, opening it, is expanding the group, provides a value, and I can also provide a responsible. It will trigger the pop-up search and would enter this one. I have to check why it doesn't work, but you can take a look at my blog. There are a few posts already about Playwright, first steps, and yeah, you can watch them on your own. There are some videos in there, some explanations, and I'm currently working on it. And what I've done, my last changes in here, is I didn't want to create this information myself because we have everything already in WEBCON. So I did some stuff with PowerShell. And here I have, for example, this generate input file. I'm going to provide the database ID, the workflow ID, and I have here my background, here my some configuration in which is defined which WEBCON server I want to access, the API, which application I want to use to access the metadata of the workflows via REST. And this generate input file will generate, one moment, after I've executed this one. Didn't change there. It gets a token from WEBCON, gets information from the from WEBCON for the form layout, and then it generates an Excel file where we have all the fields and the steps. And now I could define something for some values for these. And using this information, I can then use this input file again and to generate the form data. And as you can see, it does look a little bit different. Here we have now the ABC value which I provided. And I added this functionality so that we can easily add new fields. Or if you have new fields added, then I can update this information, this Excel file, for example, and regenerate the form data. And I think this will be a nice head start to testing this info, to generate tests for Playwright with this combination of WEBCON. But coming back to the question how complex this can be, I haven't yet, currently have no idea how I can simulate the interaction if I have a parent workflow and a child workflow, so that I can test this. I think the test cases will get somehow complex in this case, but it will not be so easy because they are interconnected. They will consist of multiple tests. Maybe I should also have different tests in itself, and not just some simple one tests, one here, submit and approve. Maybe I will have different stuff here in here. which needs to be executed in serial, submits the third workflow, then I somehow need to fetch the element, or for the second workflow, maybe I have to use the tasks because the second user should have a task for the child workflow. That's not something I'm not sure I need to test right now. I have yet to test. And where's my blog? Let's go head over to this last one, since I'm doing it. These are the ideas I currently have, or what I've still not done. I know that Azure AD authentication is working, but I haven't used it because I don't have Azure AD on my private environment yet. No, I don't have it on my environment. I need to use the company environment for this. Currently, there's limited field support. I have a choose drop-down. Datetime is not supported. Yes, no is not supported. Floats are not supported. Data table, data rows. Item lists are not supported currently. Or at least I haven't added in support for item lists to make it easy to use them. That's what I want to do this. Regarding your question, yes, you in theory you don't need key users for testing anymore. At least, or not so strict. If you have a test plan and they follow this test plan, the key users, then you could replace the key users. For example, if I would have saved myself some embarrassment if I had them, because I had some field I needed to change something in an existing workflow. And the field should have been, the change was that, for example, the description should now be editable if the form type is in a specific, if the workflow has a specific form type. We added a new form type, and only in this specific form type the field should be editable. As a consequence was that the field, that another field, and this, okay, in this form type, a lot of fields should have been editable, and others not. Unfortunately, I made a mistake in here, and the fields in the second form type, which was there before, or the first form type which was there before, hadn't been editable any longer. So if I would have had tests here, the test would have failed in the first one, because this field hadn't been available, or hadn't been able. It wouldn't have been able to enter a value in there. So it's really would have been simple. Even so, if I would do something like, I have a required field and then I've misclicked, or I removed it accidentally, and the test would say, hey, this field should have been required. It's the last time, then the test would have failed if it could be executed. It would have been executed. Playwright is from Microsoft, and there are some documentation about using it in DevOps pipelines. So you could actually run them. And I think really Playwright it's free. That's also a good point. So and the recording could get you started to see whether it's something for you, and maybe even the recording could be used by the customers to simulate some tests on themselves. Or what you can also do is, you've seen how fast this testing was, even though it failed for some reason. It executed in 5 seconds, and the whole tests, if it would have been successful, I think it would have been about 17 seconds. So I could have created a workflow instance and approved it in 17 seconds. With this, you can easily simulate and create a lot of data if you need something like this for some reports, or how the system would behave if there's been not 1, 2, or 20 workflows in there, but 300, 400, 1000. This would just take a lot of time if you do it on your own, but running this script in the background, it's really fast. And yes, I agree, and I'm currently really hyped about this functionality, this opportunities Playwright offers, and that's the reason why I'm putting such a lot of effort in it to make it easy to use. And there will be more blog posts about it when I have time to continue on it. So unfortunately, it didn't work correctly, but you can really check out my blogs, the other blogs, where this is more, where I can get a better overview of how it's working. And the only problem with Playwright is that if you want to do more complex stuff where the recording doesn't work, you need to have some ideas how TypeScript works. But if you're going down this road, I think you are really looking for more professional processes, and then there will be someone in your team who can understand TypeScript. Yeah, it will save us a lot of time after setting it up. Right. It is extra work, but if this work look more complex and there will be changes to it, then it will pay off, I think, in the future. And yeah, as in my case, it would have saved me some embarrassment because of some stupid issue I've provided in there when I've misconfigured a business rule for hiding or disabling a field, which shouldn't have been disabled. Do you have some other questions? If you don't have any, I can really understand it. And yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, we are only two this time. Maybe because of the weather, maybe because it wasn't promoted by WEBCON this time because I didn't ask them. Or we are only a few, or only or two ourselves. And if you don't have any questions, I don't have something to discuss. I want to, so I would call it as, yeah, this event is over. Yeah, so I could go through some blog of posts of mine, but you can read on them anyway. I should send more reminders on LinkedIn. Maybe some other questions. Yeah, I have still some time, at least 50 minutes I have time. If you have a question, feel free to ask them. You would like to have more interactive sessions like this one or another kind of interactivity? I will just chat. Why don't I see the chat any longer? Currently, you see the chat, but I don't see it big enough to see it. Currently, YouTube doesn't work for me. I don't, this chat doesn't load for me, so I don't see anything. Damn. I see that there's something written in here, but I can't read it because it's too small in my preview. I have no idea why it's not loading. Maybe I need to open it in a different browser than I can maybe see the chat. Okay. Yeah. Yes, you can thank. If you are interested in the next session, I will schedule some one, maybe in August or probably much better September when the summer is over, the summer holidays. And again, I will then again provide some, yeah, a form survey for submitting this question, or via email, and yeah, or any other way you want to contact me. There have been some questions on my blog, but these have been more related to the content itself, which I've answered. Yeah. Okay. So thanks you for your interest, and I hope you learned something new or get some ideas. And yeah, I would close this session today and wish you a nice day, and maybe you have a chance to go outside, and if the sun is shining at your place too, here it is really a beautiful weather today. So bye until the next time.